So let's get on to the main stories from this week's show. We started off with Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin. Obviously the rematch from the match they had at Fyter Fest earlier this year, the time limit draw. We had a really cool and creepy Darby Allin intro promo before Darby Allin made his entrance. We had a guy coming out wearing, I wouldn't say a Cody Rhodes mask because it wasn't. It was almost a Cody Rhodes, like someone had cut it out of a magazine and stuck it to his face. It was apparently a guy called Rake from a band that Taz explained to us. Apparently Taz is very into his grunge rock. He knew exactly who Rake was. No one else did, by the way, but Taz did, thank God. JR thankfully said thank you for explaining that, because it was just a guy at that point that came out wearing a Cody Rhodes face. Everyone was a bit freaked out, like Hannibal Lecter had just walked out in the middle of an episode of Dynamite. But Darby Allin comes out, pulls the Cody Rhodes face off. It was bizarre, but it was cool. I mean, that's Darby Allin, isn't he? I mean, he is this bizarre, cool, Jeff Hardy style. People don't necessarily get him, but the crowd loves him. We then had Cody Rhodes out with Arn Anderson. His official title was revealed to be the head coach of the Nightmare Family. So I really like this use of coaches and managers that they use in AEW. They actually, they don't refer to them as much as managers, more as coaches, which goes back to that. It's almost been a hot topic, isn't it? The sports-based presentation of professional wrestling. I think it's got to be sports-based, sports-orientated. And I like the use of the word coach as opposed to manager. I think that's a nice touch. Also, another thing I noticed during the match, and I know I'm going to sound like one of these, rambly old-timers here, but the difference in size between Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin at certain points was, pretty striking. I mean, Cody Rhodes isn't exactly a giant by any means. I think he's about 205. I mean, you look on Cody Rhodes' Twitter and Instagram pages, he, especially in the road to All Out in the summer, he was saying about how he was getting in the best shape of his life, getting to the lightest he had been since, the early 2000s, not early 2000s, late 2000s, sorry. So and I think at the time he was saying he was about 205, so I don't know how much Darby Allin weighs. I don't recall if Justin Roberts mentioned that or not. But yeah, the difference in size here was striking. Obviously, you look past it eventually because you just are focusing on the match. But it's striking. That's professional wrestling in 2020, I suppose, nowadays. They played a story of Darby Allin working over the arm and the shoulder of Cody Rhodes throughout the match. At one point, Darby Allin took the turnbuckle pad off early on at a stare-off with Aubrey Edwards, best referee in AEW by far, in my opinion. The crowd wasn't exactly hot for him taking the turnbuckle off. They were like, come on. The AEW crowd is a smart crowd. They don't want to see finishes or, shitty finishes involving turnbuckle pads being ripped off, blah, blah, blah. So, but as soon as he took the turnbuckle pad off, okay, angle alert, that's the finish right there. They didn't obviously immediately go to it, but it's always in the back of your mind. They had a nice spot where Cody hit a reverse suplex from the top, but that was almost one-upped by Darby Allin as he hit a code red from the top. We had a spot here, which I could almost... When they do these spots, you can hear the old-timers, the old wrestling old-timers, spinning in their graves, even if they're not even dead. Darby Allin hit a coffin drop, which is still I think is one of the best finishes in the business at the moment. It just always looks brutal. But he hit a coffin drop onto the apron on top of Cody Rhodes. He sort of landed on his knees as well. And just, AEW loves an apron spot. There are a couple on this show tonight. They love an apron spot. It's never the finish. It's never an injury angle. Kevin Owens can never do a powerbomb onto the apron again because apparently it's not enough to even beat someone, let alone injure them. Remember back in 2014 or 2015, whenever it was, when Kevin Owens debuted and he powerbombed Sami Zayn onto the apron? That was an injury angle. He was gone for a little while. Now, you can't even get a 3 count. Outrageous. But throughout the match, you obviously hear the Justin Roberts, 10 minutes gone by, 10 remaining, 5 minutes remaining, 4 minutes remaining. So in the back of your mind, you're thinking back to Fyter Fest. You're thinking, hey up, they went to a time limit draw. It's going to happen again because it's getting to 5 minutes, 4 minutes. But on the 4-minute mark, Cody hit the crossroads. You're thinking, that's it. Darby kicks out. Apparently your finisher isn't good enough anymore. But they were telling the story at this point. Cody Rhodes starting to think, hey, I couldn't beat him last time. I've just hit him with my finish. What else do I have to do to beat this guy? Can I even beat this guy? Cody then charged into Darby Allin in the corner. But what did he run into? He ran into that exposed turnbuckle that I mentioned earlier. Angle alert. My Spidey angle sensors were tingling. And I was right. So he runs into the turnbuckle, which is exposed. Darby goes at the top for the coffin drop. But Arn Anderson, yes, the head coach, I thought at one point he was actually going to get involved. And I was thinking, it's a bit of a heel move, Arn. You've only just made your AEW debut here. But he doesn't. He just gets onto the apron and he tells Cody, get your knees up. Taps his knees, get your knees up. Cody gets his knees up when Darby hits the coffin drop. Rolls up Darby for the win. So Darby eats another loss here. I thought this was a really fun match. Not as good as the Fight Fest with the time limit draw. I think maybe that had a little bit more drama, maybe because of the draw itself. But I thought it was a fun match. I thought it was a really good opener. Cody needed the win. You think of the losses he's had recently, not only, of course, to Jericho at Full Gear, but he's had the loss to the Blade, the Butcher, and the Bunny. Awful name, BBB. So he's had a bit of a bad time of it recently in terms of the win-loss column, so he needed the win. He needs to win to build up the momentum, start the comeback story to when he faces MJF eventually. I do worry about Darby Allin getting the losses in these big matches. Now, he's had the loss against Jericho, he's had the loss against Cody. These younger talents obviously do need building up. I guess the problem is if you're going to have Darby eat the loss, you'd want to do it at the end of last year, as the win-loss records get wiped now in 2020. So he would need a big win going forward. He needs to be built back up to get some big wins going forward. I would assume he will get that. I would expect him to face some maybe more mid-card talent over the next couple of months just to get the win-losses sorted out, because if he loses any more big matches, the crowd's going to start believing him less and less as a credible future world champion, which I think he can be. I think he can be AEW's Jeff Hardy. I really do. He's got that vibe. He's got that. The guys think he's cool. The girls absolutely love him. He's this cool guy. He's just cool. And you can't beat being cool in pro wrestling, can you? But I'd like to see a third match in this trilogy as well. It's one draw, one win to Cody. Maybe they come out of it. They can give Darby a win at some point. Then that gets Darby his big win back. Evens out the trilogy. Maybe you have another match sometime down the line. I thought Arn Anderson's facials as well and Cody's facials match were tremendous. Arn Anderson's role going forward, I'm guessing it's going to be the same as the Tully Blanchard situation with Shawn Spears. I think now this is just a little thing I'm throwing out there. Just my little. I'll end on this about the Cody Rhodes Arn Anderson pairing. So now you've got Arn Anderson with Cody Rhodes. You've got Tully Blanchard with Shawn Spears. Okay, that's two of the four horsemen right there. Now, recently there were names thrown out there to Arn Anderson about who would be a 2020 or the four horsemen today. All I'm saying is, I know Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears were rivals. They had their match at All Out, but they go way back. They used to be tag champions in OVW. They basically came up in the business together. Maybe, just maybe, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, they bring Cody Rhodes and Shawn Spears together. Let bygones be bygones. Together, we're better. Then, a couple of people's contracts expiring in the WWE this year, namely Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder in the Revival. They come over to AEW. Then, you've got Cody Rhodes, you've got Shawn Spears, Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, the Revival. You've got the 2020 version of the Four Horsemen. Hey, that's a stable right there. They feud with the likes of the Inner Circle. They feud with what's left of the Elite there. And you've got some real gang warfare going on. I'm just saying. Fantasy booking.